Morning. That's a look at traffic. We send it back to you, Larry and Robin.
Thanks, Aaron.
A neighbor of Drew Peterson says one of Peterson's relatives told him he thought he helped Peterson remove the body of his wife, Stacy, from their home in Bolingbrook, and Peterson paid him the help.
Walter Martynuk tells the Today Show the relative reconsidered and decided he didn't want the money. Then a day later, he tried to kill himself.
For fear of his family?
Yes.
Did he tell you that?
Yes, he did.
What exactly did he say to you?
Drew's a very powerful person, and he could do anything, from what I was told.
Drew Peterson's lawyer claims the relative has mental problems and substance abuse problems, and his account is not credible. Our legal analyst Terry Sullivan joins us now with more on the Peterson investigation. Good morning, Terry.
Morning, kids. How are you?
Let's talk about this stepbrother who allegedly tried to kill himself, and he is the one who allegedly moved this container with Drew Peterson. How significant that this neighbor is saying that he told him the same thing before he told police?
Well, it could be terribly significant, especially in the instance if they never recover a body, and if they do charge Peterson with the murder. However, you've got all of these people coming out of the woodwork now that they're subject to so much cross-examination as to where were they when this happened? Why didn't they come forward before? And that's something that the prosecution would have to try to explain away, were they to use all these people at trial.
So a comment from a neighbor saying, he told me this, that's admissible in court?
That's the problem that you have, Larry. You know, if you go back to the question of being able to cross-examine somebody, our Supreme Court just a couple of years ago came down with another big case, basically pretty much saying that the defense lawyer has got to be able to cross-examine somebody or something about the alleged statement that's supposedly going to be allowed into evidence. As an example, just this chap right here, if in fact he was allowed to testify by a judge, the defense lawyer would have to be able to cross-examine him. How is he going to cross-examine him unless he's able to get it in through the stepbrother who's still alive? It's different when you get to this alleged statement from Stacy Peterson to the clergy person.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Is that
sure, that's different?
Is there any time when the clergy person? Well, we know there's certain instances when they don't have to tell anything to authorities. When do they have to tell things to authorities?
Well, that's a good question, because the clergy privilege happens to come way back from common law. We have carved out some things, especially in this state. If a clergy person hears about child abuse, or whether or not a child is being beat up or something like that, they are supposed to report that under Illinois law. And also, if somebody comes in and says, I'm going to commit suicide, those are the kind of things. But those haven't even been tested in the courts, to my knowledge. But the problem you have there, Robin, is that what they could do here, what the prosecution could do, and probably will do, is to call somebody to the grand jury from this church and ask them the questions that they want. Then it's a question as to whether or not those clergy people are going to say that Stacy Peterson said something. Then, if you take that to trial, however, and you put that clergy person on, and you say that I confessed to you, or I said to you that somebody was going to kill me and that I was afraid and that he killed his third wife, well, who am I going to cross-examine? Who's the defense lawyer going to cross-examine? The clergy person? Because Stacy is no longer here. And that's the problem with whether or not that evidence could ever even get in. And that's the problem that the prosecution is going to have if they don't have a body.
What do you think of the leaks that are coming out at this time?
Well, Larry, let me tell you, from what I know, a lot of the things, or some of the things that we have read in the newspapers or even heard in the media, just simply are not true. But I can tell you this much. The prosecution, and being a former prosecutor, the prosecution has done a wonderful job in trying to keep a lid on this case. And that's very, very difficult. However, it seems as if the lid is sneaking off the past few days, because there has been certainly an awful lot that has gotten out that I'm sure that the prosecution didn't know was going to get out and certainly didn't want out. I can go back to the time, it seems like ancient history now, but during the John Wayne Gacy investigation, we had a medical examiner who came out to the house where all the bodies had been discovered. And he started talking to the media right away about everything. We knew as prosecutors that we were going to be stuck with whatever he says at trial, the same way they're going to be stuck with whatever Scott Peterson says, if in fact he's indicted. And I was the one who had to take the medical examiner over to a Greek restaurant, ask them to open it so I could sit the doctor down and say, Doc, please, you can't do this, because he was at the same level of authority as the state's attorney's office. So they're doing a great job right now by using the grand jury, but this thing just goes on and on and on, and it's I can tell you there are more surprises to come.
Terry Sullivan, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Coming up, we'll tell you about the health risk of working overnights.
And lots more coming.